Regis, Houchin.
Coventry are looking to add a second goal. A fine pass and a fine goal as well. George Thomas puts Coventry 2 goals up.
McNulty. Shipley there up with us. And Shipley deflected! They're turning Wembley sky blue now!
Oh, a lovely nutmeg from O'Hare. That was quite brilliant. And a chance for Eucharist! He slammed it in!
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Sky Blue Fans TV. My name's Mark Smith. Tonight we'll be talking, we'll be previewing, shall I say, our home match against Luton Town on Saturday. Before we start about the match, I've got a few plugs to make regarding the Tavern, our sponsors. So just to start off, we've got a couple of events coming up. We've got a two-tone brewery lunch, which is basically bottomless drinks, authentic Jamaican street food, special guest Trevor Evans, the Lloyd McGrath collection, and that's taking place on Saturday, the 4th of March, between 1 p.m. and 6 p.m. And also with Valentine's around the corner, why not take your loved one to none other than the Sky Blue Tavern for a Valentine's meal, 3 courses, including a free bottle of Prosecco for £45. And the last announcement I'm going to make is to do with Dylan's Brewery. I've got an event with the VB, the Rock Out the VB band, which is on Friday the 31st of March at 5 p.m. So that's another event to look forward to. Okay, let's kick off tonight. I'll introduce a couple of guests in the Sky Blue call alongside myself. Welcome return to the show to Victoria Oakes. Evening, Vicky. How are you doing?
Sorry. Evening, Mark. You all right?
Yeah. How's the headset? It's all good. New headset.
All good. Yeah, just got to mute.
Yeah.
No, I'm all good. Yeah, good week.
Yeah, must cancel and mute.
Yeah.
And then in the orange corner, shall I say, I got Ollie Kay from Oak Road Hatter. Evening, Ollie. How are we doing?
Yeah, all good. Thank you. Thank you for having me on the pod.
No, that's a pleasure.
Yeah, it makes a bit of a change. Normally, I'm for Oak Road Hatter. I'm normally the one writing the articles. So It's a bit different. Podcasting is very new to me, but I'll give it a good shot.
Well, just chill out and just talk football. You'll be good.
We're friendly here.
yeah. So let's talk about the game. Let's start with Luton. Luton going into the game league-wise in really good form under Rob Edwards. Obviously, disappointing result in midweek against Grimsby. Any injuries to report ahead of this game, Ollie?
So regarding injuries, we have some that haven't really been disclosed. So Sonny Bradley's a long-term injury. We sort of thought it wasn't going to be so bad when we were told by Nathan Jones, it wasn't as bad as it looked. It looked pretty bad. His knee completely buckled. And Nathan Jones said, it'll be a couple of weeks. Bradley will be back, no problem. No break, no ligament damage. It's been 2 months, 3 months. He hasn't come back yet. It leaves us defensively quite fragile. Although Amari Bell has deputized very well on the left of the back three. In terms of other injuries, Henry Lansbury is a long-term absentee, but we brought in Marvelous Nakamba to sort of fill that void. And just from his brief 30-minute cameo, it looks like it was a marvelous piece of business.
What for Marvelous Nakamba? Is he a marvelous? Is he a marvelous player as well to go with that?
Yeah, well, from that brief cameo, everyone loved him. The whole crowd was singing for him, the tequila song, but instead of singing tequila, Nakamba.
Yeah. Very good.
Wonderful.
Where'd you get him from then? I'm trying to remember where
Aston Villa on loan.
Right. On loan, okay. Well, Aston Villa's a bit of a dirty word around these parts, so it's not where you want to be saying.
Oh, yeah, you're all Midland friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't say that, but anyway. Obviously, Rob Edwards has came in the middle of the season since the departure of Nathan Jones. Has there been any change of style of football from the Nathan Jones era, or has it been much the same?
Yeah, so funnily enough, from our first game that we played against Middlesbrough, which was Rob Edwards' first game, we lost it 2-1, but for the first half an hour, we were unbelievable. And one of the take-home comments that I noted was we were playing a bit more like Coventry. You know that slick play when you progress the ball from the back to the front and the ball comes into a player, he has his back to goal, he lays it off first time to another player that's running on, and then, it's 1-2 touch stuff. It's sort of similar to what Mark Robbins has Coventry playing. And it's subtle, but it's a different style of football to what we were playing under Nathan Jones, which Southampton fans all over social media are lamenting relentlessly at the moment. If you're seeing what Southampton Twitter's like at the moment, and they're like, oh, it's kick and rush, it's long ball, and it kind of was long ball football from Nathan Jones, but as Coventry have noticed from Luton's finishes last season and the season before that when we finished 12th, it's quite effective, and we built a squad that could play that. But Rob Edwards has come in and noticed we actually have some players that can play football, so it's more on the deck, fewer long passes. So I expect to see a more fluid, not quite tiki-taka game between Luton and Coventry, but the ball will be on the grass, not up in the air too much.
Yeah. Question here I got from Sky Blue Sam. You can see Sky Blue Sam. Will the Grimsby defeat in the FA Cup with not confidence, or do you think maybe Rob Edwards will be looking for a reaction of his players on the other hand?
Yeah, that's something that we discussed at length on the Oak Road Hatter podcast yesterday. Psychologically, players have to be used to getting knockbacks. One thing that we've noticed when we've had an absolute stinker of a performance, although we haven't had any stinker performances under Rob Edwards, but when we've had a stinker of a performance under Nathan Jones, the team always reacted and bounced back. Essentially, we've never had two stinker of a performances in a row, but I'll say it again, fair play Grimsby, because they showed up. They showed up at Kenilworth Road. They didn't just sit back and try and absorb all the pressure. They gave it a good shot. When they did sit back, they countered well. They pressed relatively high up the pitch, and then we went back to Grimsby, and they were fired up. They had a full house, and it was put to bed before half time. It was 3-0, and it's up to the players now to give their heads a wobble, realize that they need to just focus on the league, because right now we're in a fantastic position with fourth in the table. The players know that, the manager knows that, or the fans know that. So it is a case of literally forgetting about it and moving on, because we have to focus on the league now.
Yeah, absolutely. Question here from Sky Busan again about obviously the departure of James Bree to Southampton, joining Nathan Jones. Was you sad to see him go? And how's I think it's Drama, his pronunciation could be wrong. How's he doing on loan from Leeds?
So it's Cody Drama.
Drama.
I believe they had him pronounce his name, so they knew how to pronounce it moving forward. Um, the thing I'm disappointed about the most with James Bree leaving was the fee, because he entered the last 6 months of his contract. If we want to enter into that Brentford model, the Brighton model of buying low, selling high, we need to get more money for those players. But with 6 months left on his contract, we got reported 750k, which is decent. It's better than letting him leave for free. Although I was thinking, I did give a think before Cody Drammer came in. We potentially should have eaten the cost and kept him, because James Bree, before he left, he had the joint most big chances created in the Championship, and he was important from dead ball situations and just from open play. He liked to cross from deep, but since Cody Drammer's come in, all those concerns have gone now, because Cody Drammer is more of an athlete than Bree. Like, Bree is a good athlete, but Cody Drammer is athletic. He's rapid. He sits really high up the pitch. He's exactly what Rob Edwards would have wanted. It's a shame we don't have him permanently, but at least it will tide us over until the summer, and then we can look at getting a full-time contracted right wing back through the door. But so far, Cody Drammer has really impressed, and we're not missing Bree too much. Jordan Clark has sort of taken over corners. Alfie Doughty's also chipping in with the corners. So we're not missing Bree too much.
No. Question here from Mr. Glenn Watkin. Glenn, good evening to you, sir. What's the Luton view on Nathan Jones? Is he a hero? Is he a villain? Or is he neither?
So the first time he left to Stoke, I'm sure everyone knows the story, leaving us in the lurch halfway through the season. I believe it was in January. We were sitting third in League One, and he left. It wasn't to the best. He didn't leave with the best. Trying to think of a diplomatic way of saying it. It left a bad taste in everyone's mouth, from the boardroom to the fans. But when he came back, and secretly we sort of developed a little rivalry with Stoke when he left, and we were always hoping to see Stoke lose, and Stoke were terrible while he was there. I think he had a 16% win rate, which is dire. He came back, tail between his legs, and thank God it was during lockdown, because if those last 10 games of the 1920 season had been played with fans, it would have been different. We probably would have gone down. The fans wouldn't have got behind the team, I don't think, because all the fans didn't receive him coming back too well. But he redeemed himself, because he kept us up against the odds, and then led us to a 12th place finish and then 6th place finish. So all bad feelings have gone. Also, we beat Watford in that 21-22 season. No, 19-20 season. I can't remember which was the lockdown season with the last 10 games played behind closed doors. To be honest, the last 3 years with COVID just been a massive blur, hasn't it? He left this time with everyone aligned with him. Everyone was wishing him the best. We got a couple of as our CEO calls them, Brucey bonuses if Southampton stay up for 2 years. So it'd be great if he makes a job of it, if the Southampton fans actually get behind him, get behind the team, stop trying to trend Jones out all the time, because they're sort of a privileged bunch. Well, I'd say faux privileged, because they've been propping up the Premier League table for the better part of the last 3-4 years. I don't understand how they're expecting to get Pochettino back, or get Guardiola in from Man City. I don't know what they were expecting. They got the Championship Manager of the Year, and the job he did with Luton was phenomenal. We were 17th in League Two when he walked in the first time, and now we're, when he left, we were 7th in the Championship, and Rob Edwards has, picked up from where he left off. So yeah, no ill intentions towards Nathan Jones this time round. He redeemed himself and then more.
Yeah. And obviously now you've got an ex-Watford manager in charge as well, so that's...
listen, I've been to Vicarage Road more than Rob Edwards has.
Yeah, that's probably... Yeah, I mean, he was literally there for a couple of games and he went, but I'm not surprised with Watford.
10 games. He was there for 10 games. He's already managed more at Luton.
Yeah.
Also, it's impossible not to hire an ex-Watford manager. Practically half of the Western Hemisphere has been a Watford manager.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
or being a playing staff at Nottingham Forest this season.
I think I had this joke. There's been more. I think there's been more British Prime Ministers last year than there were Watford managers. I think was the joke.
I actually put something up on Twitter that caught a lot of fire. It was seen by about 5 million people. That was a graph that was ranking Watford managers per British Prime Minister tenure. So how many Prime Ministers there were per Watford manager, and it was crazy.
Yeah.
They averaged 3 a year.
Yeah, quite a few.
Yeah.
Move swiftly on to the game. In terms of formation, how do you expect Rob Edwards to? So what team do you expect to pick for this game?
So he's mostly stayed. He hasn't tried to change formation or anything. It's mainly just the emphasis of keeping it on the floor a bit more. So we line up with a back three. It's very similar to Coventry style actually. So it's sort of a matchup, but it's a 3-5-2. But instead of having one up top like you have with Big Vic, we have two up top and one in behind. So you have two in behind, we have one in behind. So I imagine it'll be a case of who can dominate the midfield more. Maybe with your two in the hole, that might happen. Although we press quite aggressively from the front, with our front three, the two at the front and the one in the hole. They really spread. They attack and try and force play outwards, and then we just sort of force play outwards and then backwards. It's been quite successful. We're fourth in the division for turnovers in the opposition half. So we're pretty good at pressing and chasing opposition players.
Yeah. Right. Let's bring in Vicky. So evening, Vicky. I'm going to bring out a few comments here before we start asking some questions. Skype is saying evening, or we owe Luton one, so fingers crossed we get a win on Saturday. Yeah, absolutely agree with that, because I can't remember last time we beat Luton. I think it was back in League Two. I think.
League Two. You beat us 3-0.
3-0 was it? I think. Remember right?
Yeah. It's been a long time.
Yeah,
it's been a long time.
Glenn doesn't write the intro music. Well, yeah, Gareth is good as well, but yeah, I like a bit of dance. And my wife approves it, so that's the most important thing. All right, let's go a bit more serious now. One good comment here. We've got Doug King and Mark Robbins attending the Bedworth and Nuneaton supporters meeting tonight, and it's good to see this. I mean, before we talk about the actual game, Vicky, I mean, it's good to see that Doug King and Mark Robbins are sort of talking to the fans. And obviously you went to the event. We'll talk later about the event on the second half of our show. I mean, it's good to see Doug King and Mark Robbins in dialogue with the fans. I just feel like the club, particularly with the ownership situation, it's looking good in terms of they want to sort of reach out to the fans and speak to them, which is good to see, which you didn't really see as much of under Joyce Zapata and Cece.
Oh, definitely. Just some engagement, isn't it? That's what you want between the club and the fans, just to help build that relationship. And I think Cece never wanted to come and talk to the fans, did they? There was always like that distance, and so it's good to see Doug, I suppose, taking a different approach early on and happy to go along to a supporters club and chat to the fans. I mean, that's great, really, isn't it? To go and have a sort of open discussion and share his thoughts. So yeah, I think it's really positive.
Yeah, and we've also got a message here from Doug's brother Will King. Great to have you listening to us, Will. It's really appreciated. I've shared your channel on my Twitter page. Hope the podcast gets lots of engagement, and ditto the fan forum. Doug and Mark are at Bedworth. So, yeah, it's great. It's great that they take a massive interest in our club and also our podcast. Which is brilliant to see. Let's go to the game now on Saturday, Vicky. So, Luton is going to be a tough side. They're fourth in the league. They've only lost 7 games this season. Obviously, we're not in a great run ourselves. Not in a great run, shall I say? What changes do you think Robins could make for this game?
I don't know. I don't think he actually will make a lot of changes. I mean, it's interesting actually listening to Ollie talking about Luton and the changes in the Rob Edwards. I haven't been able to see a lot of Luton since he came in, so I haven't seen a lot of them play. But I always considered they were a bit of a bogey side for us, and we just have always struggled to cope with the sort of Nathan Jones' way of playing, and that's why we've had some horrendous results down at Kenilworth Road, haven't we, in the recent seasons? I mean, it's just been disastrous. But it'll be interesting because if the style of play has changed a bit to be more like us, I feel that actually suits us really. That makes me a bit less worried about the game really, because the old style really was something we really just struggled to cope with. So if we're looking at a more footballing game, which hopefully then be a really enjoyable match to watch for both sets of fans, then I feel a bit more positive about that. And I'm not sure that I would make a lot of changes. I suspect he's bringing Godden back slowly. I'd like to see him at least come on so that for this part of the game we can maybe have that sort of 2 up front to sort of push the home advantage. But I'd be surprised if he starts like that because we know, unfortunately, that Godden's been unlucky with injuries, and I'm sure he doesn't want to rush him back. And there isn't. I mean, unfortunately, we haven't got a whole lot of choices, have we? I mean, we're sort of our best 11 is our best 11, and then there's sort of a few fringe players to come in. So I don't know what you think, Mark. I mean, would you make a lot of changes from the last few games, or just sort of hope that it starts to click again like it did in November?
Well, I think potentially 2 changes. I mean, there's a couple of comments here. One from Aaron about Cuffy out for Eccles. I don't trust him defensively. Yeah, I think that's definitely one to consider. I think Eccles is possibly a better defensive player. I think Cuffy had a good game at Burnley, but since then I don't feel he's been at his best. Shall I say? I don't think defensively he's been at his best.
Yeah, I think he is defensively vulnerable, isn't he? And I think he's unlucky though because he's come in and we've had to play Burnley, Norwich. Who else have we played? Like another top team, I can't remember now. So it's been West Brom. So we've been playing teams that are all like much stronger than we are, really, haven't we? So he's had to come in at quite a difficult time. And I thought against Norwich, he did show sort of glimpses of looking quite good going forward. And I feel a bit sorry for Eccles when we came and thrown him in that position because it's not his natural position, is it? He'll want to get into midfield, and we come and say, "Oh, well, we can't really fit you in there, so we'll just throw you in at the back again." And so I always feel a bit sorry for Eccles that's the sort of fall back position, really. But
I reckon that Norton Cuffy will start purely because I think contractually with Arsenal, they want him to start certain games. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the reason there's something like that. Personally speaking, I'd go Eccles. The other change I'd make, I'd start Esbran Wilson on the left-hand side. I would actually drop Panzo because I feel Panzo's been making too many mistakes, unenforced errors. I'd actually move Jake Bigbolt to that position.
That's a good shout. That's a good shout.
On the left side of the 3. And that would probably be the change that I would make. But other than that, I'd probably keep it the same kind of side.
Yeah.
Question here from Mick Davenport, even Mick, about has anyone heard about how McFadden's progressing? I haven't actually. I don't know if you heard anything on the grapevine, Victoria, on that.
No, they were. I mean, when on Tuesday they were sort of saying about missing him, and it sounded like he was coming back soon, but I didn't.
I think he's been a massive miss for us, and I think for a game like Luton, when you're up against guys like Adebayor, shall I say, not Adebayor, they're getting confused, the ex-Arsenal player, Adebayor, shall I say, and Carlton Morris, who's a big, strong physical striker, and Corley Woodrow, I think, is another sort of physical player. You need a player of his experience in our team. I think my big concern going ahead to this game is how we deal with their attack, because I mean, I'm sure Ollie will say the same about Gyökeres from the Luton perspective, but I really feel we do miss Fads. I mean, everyone knows that. But this game in particular is a massive blow because Luton are a big, strong physical side. I suppose there's the argument of do you play Panzo because he's quite a physically stronger player than say a Bidwell, but I'm not convinced on Panzo last few games. I'm just not sold on him. I think he makes too many unenforced errors.
He seems to have lost a bit of confidence, doesn't he, or something's happening because he was having some really great games, and then I don't know, the last few games, don't really know whether because he's played a lot of games in a row and he hasn't historically done that, has he? He's sort of been a player that's been coming in and playing in bits and bobs, but we've had to sort of display him constantly because we were so short. Whether maybe that's just he just needs a bit of a break, I don't know, but something's definitely changed because early on, sort of pre-World Cup, I was thinking, what a loan signing that was. I mean, he's been was one of the quite often one of the best players on the pitch, and now it just seems to have flipped entirely. And you think, well, he kind of lost that ability. There's something. It's either loss of confidence or maybe carrying a knock, and so that's just affecting him. I don't know, but something's definitely happened, hasn't it? Because
yeah, I think we missed a bit of leadership at the back. And I think the one thing that concerns me, the last few games, we've been starting games really poorly in the first half. West Brom, obviously we lost 1-0, but that could easily have been 2 or 3-0. They missed easy chances before they scored. Before that, even Huddersfield, where we won the game, we didn't start particularly well. But Huddersfield were a pretty poor side, and they didn't really threaten us. But against a half decent side like we got on Saturday, you get punished for that.
yeah,
And before that, even Wrexham, we started poorly. Norwich, we started poorly. So that's something that has to be addressed for this game and going forwards. We need a 90-minute performance because too many times we seem to back off, let teams play, and then we defend deep and we get punished. And that's what really frustrates me at the moment. I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, I mean that's been a sort of marked change, hasn't it? Because I think that generally under Robbins it always seemed to be like try and keep it steady till half time at least and then really go for it in the second half, but we haven't even been keeping it steady till half time. We've just been capitulated in the first half to games. I mean, like Norwich and West Brom, like early soft goals. I mean, and that's the worst thing, isn't it? They're all goals that are soft, that were defendable, and we've just let teams score easily. There's not any magic bit of skill that you're thinking, oh wow, I can't believe that they scored that goal, and you just have to take it on the chin. Every goal that's been conceded, you're looking at it thinking somebody's made a mistake there, somebody's just let a player go or not mark their man, or just all sorts of different things like that, and that's frustrating as well, isn't it? When you're getting the basics wrong, and we're just giving teams head starts by allowing them to score easy goals without even having to really work for it, and then we're always having an uphill battle. And frustrating. I agree with you. That's something like that. It's in our season, isn't it? We're in a relatively good stable position.
Yeah.
And the question now is, do we push on to the top half and sort of push somewhere near the top 6, or are we going to be starting to drop away and be looking over our shoulder? And we want to be pushing upwards, don't we, to finish better than last season? I mean, that's the aim, isn't it? Keep on growing. Like Luton, I mean, I think Luton are perfect. Luton are just a couple of seasons ahead of us, aren't they? And that's the sort of benchmark. They're doing that sort of finish better each season. That's what we've been doing in the Robins, and so that's what we need to do again this season. Just a little bit better than last season. Just keep on growing and keep on following that trajectory.
Yeah, exactly. I've got a question here for you, Ollie. What would Ollie say are Luton's weaknesses, and which team or teams have Luton played this season that have impressed you the most?
So in terms of weaknesses, no weaknesses. We are the best team the world has ever seen. I guess it's when we turn off, it can be disastrous. One of the worst performances I had the pleasure of watching was the match against Watford. It was one of the few matches this season where Watford decided to turn up and we just got rolled over 4-0. It was horrendous. But I wouldn't say they were one of the better teams that we played this season. not at all. It's just Nathan Jones said we had an illness bug that was ravaging through the team. Couldn't even fill the bench. But no, they're not one of the best teams. I'd never say that, even if they were. The best team I've seen, West Brom. I was looking at your last games, and you're talking about dropping Panzo and Norton Cuffy, which is great. Sounds great to me, because those are two of the players after Hamer and Gyökeres that scare me the most. So it's amazing that you're debating dropping them, considering the run of form you've had. You've just played West Brom, and when we played them, we were 2-0 up, and we thought, this is amazing, because it was a very fortunate 2-0 lead, because West Brom play some of the best football you'll see in this league. It's incredible. They press, they pass beautifully. I have to wait until we play Burnley next week to see how they are, because we played them early on in the season, and they were showing good indications, but at the same time it was early in the season. Now they're just becoming a juggernaut in the league. Otherwise, there haven't been too many teams that have really impressed me in the league. Worst team I've seen us play, probably Wigan. I've seen us play them 4 times this season. Middlesbrough, probably a close second, because that first 30 minutes when we played them under Rob Edwards' first game, they were a bit soft for the first 30 minutes, but then they really came back into it, or we collapsed, I'm not sure. But they play some good stuff, and having Isaiah Jones playing in the right wing position is a masterstroke from Carrick, and Chuba Akpom's firing. So yeah, I'd say West Brom and Middlesbrough, those are the 2 best teams I've seen. In terms of weaknesses, though, no, we don't have any weaknesses.
No.
I'd agree with all the opinions there. I think West Brom and Middlesbrough, I think that's a good shout.
Yeah.
Well, we beat Middlesbrough in fairness, though, so they can't be that good.
No, but was Carrick in there? I don't think Carrick was in there, was he?
No, I mean, when Ollie was going on about West Brom, I knew it wasn't the Steve Bruce era. Because,
that was abject. That was horrible.
I would say 2 teams for me. I'd say Burnley, and I would probably say Norwich based on 2 games. But obviously, Ollie will disagree with that, because Luton did the double over Norwich. So
yeah, but that was Dean Smith's Norwich.
Yeah. Well, we played one D Smith. We played one game with D Smith as manager. We got absolutely battered 3-0.
But you played them a couple of weeks ago under David Wagner, and I believe it's changed. The mood is raised now in Norwich. And their results have picked up a little bit. I think.
We got them at the wrong time, unfortunately. I think.
Yeah, you got caught in the new manager bounce.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Right, let's go predictions for this game. So I'm going to put you on the spot. Ollie, what's your prediction? How do you feel about this game?
I'm going to stick with my prediction from the Oak Road Hatter podcast. I'm going to say 1-0 Luton, but I think it's going to be a tight game. You've got, who's your goalkeeper? It's Ben Wilson, I believe. Mm-hmm. Most clean sheets in the division since coming in, and he's only played just over half the... Well, he's played just over a quarter of a season, and he's got the most clean sheets. So I'm guessing Cov don't concede many. Neither do we. But Luton have a better away record than home, and there are going to be a lot of fans there. We sold out our initial allocation, which was 2,300. I think we got another 500 that we sold out as well. So hopefully it'll be nearly 3,000 Hatters trying to suck the ball into the net just for that. That tight 1-0 win that we can just, whip back down the M1 and, keep building to solidify the playoffs.
Victoria, what's your view?
It's funny, actually, because Ollie just said he thinks it's going to be tight. I think it's going to be the complete opposite. I was going to go 3-2 for, and obviously towards Cov. But it's interesting with Wilson, because obviously he has got the most clean sheets, but we all seem to give away soft goals. It's one of those weird things. I always feel like we're giving away soft goals. I'm thinking, how are we having all these clean sheets when we all seem to be giving away soft goals? It's one of those weird sort of, I don't know, internally it just feels a bit strange. But yeah, so I was going to say I would think it's going to be a really open game, and I'm going to say that we're going to win it 3-2.
Yeah, I think Luton are favourites for this game. Personally, I'm not massively confident on this one.
You're never massively confident.
No, I'm not. But if we had McFadden fit, I would say yes. I think we can get a result. And to be fair, we are due a result. I think the best we'll get is a draw from this game. I don't see us winning. I worry about our defence. I worry about how we start games. I worry about the fact that we sit back, drop deep too easily, invite pressure. I worry about how we're going to handle their strikers. But, you know, on our day, yes, we can beat anyone. There's no doubt about that. We can beat any team. But just not feeling that confident. I think Luton are on a good run of form. Okay, they had a poor result week. But obviously, you know, the league, they're doing really well. So it's going to be a tough game. There's make no bones about it. It's going to be a tough game.
Oh, definitely.
I think
me and Mark are very different. I'm always very optimistic and he's always very pessimistic, so we sort of balance each other out a bit.
Yeah,
there's always one. That's fair. That's fair.
I mean, I'd probably go 1-0 Luton. Unfortunately, I hope I'm wrong, but you never know. I'll get a few other predictions here. Aaron's going 1-1. I think 1-1 is probably not a bad shout. I think we can get a draw, but just not feeling it. Glenn thinks 3-0. We owe Luton 1. Yeah, I think
go on, Glenn.
Take from the 5-0 from last season. Professor D's going 2-2. Not very confident against this one. Kind of agree with you on that one, definitely. Mick very positive, going 1-0 Coventry City. I think to be honest with you, I'll just hide that. I think if we can get a win, it would do confidence wonders, because we've got, you know, 2 important home games. I think if in theory you win the 2 games against Luton and Millwall, that puts us probably up just outside the playoffs. And then, you know, you never know, but we need to start better. We need to get that first goal if we are to win this game, because we don't win many games coming from behind, and that's my biggest fear. I don't know what your thoughts are, Vicky, on that.
I think there's been a shift in the atmosphere a bit about that, hasn't there? Because last season we were coming from behind a lot, but unfortunately a little bit of negativity has crept in, and so we aren't a lot, are we? If we go behind, it's getting a bit stale, and so it's difficult to recover from that. So that is a worry, that if we concede first, what impact that'll have, when there's obviously like a little bit of loss of confidence in the players and a little bit of negativity around the stands. So I think first goal is important, isn't it?
Yeah. Cool. All right, we'll wrap up part 1 of the show. So, Ollie, thanks for coming on tonight. Great to have you on.
Ollie.
And after this game, I wish you luck for the rest of the season, but obviously not on Saturday. But,
thanks for having me.
Tonight. Yeah, it's great to have you on, and thank you for your time. We'll have a little ad break, and then on the second part of the show, we're going to speak to Vicky about Tuesday night's entertaining evening with Hamer and Dabo at the Sky Blue Tavern. And she'll fill us in with all the gossip and all the details on that. So stay tuned for that, and I will be back very shortly. Thanks very much. Welcome back, everyone. Vicky's still here with us. So part 2 of our show, we'll be talking about the entertaining evening do at the Sky Blue Tavern, where Fankati Dabo and Gus Hamer were the guests at the event. Vicky, I think you was there. What was the event like?
Yeah, it was a really positive evening. I think I was looking forward to it because we all know that Dabo and Hamer were quite good friends. So I imagine there'd be quite a bit of good banter between them, and there was. So it was a fun evening. I think that those events at the tavern are always well organised, and so it's something positive actually, isn't it? It's something like this season, like really sort of that relationship between the club and the fans, and getting like players out to talk to the fans. I think it's a great initiative, and yeah, it was a really fun evening. Got my photo taken, so that was all good.
Well, yeah. I bet you was pretty upset Ryan Reynolds wasn't there at the event.
Yeah, let's see if we can organise that one.
Yeah. Any good stories from Hamer and Dabo?
They sort of chatted about their like histories of things that people really know about, like their sort of involvement into how they sort of got into football. I mean, I suppose one of the things that probably came across and probably links a bit to what I just was saying before the break about like the atmosphere in the ground. I think that's changed this season for whatever reason. It doesn't feel quite like last season. It felt like whatever was going on, we were going to be there for like the whole 95 minutes as fans, and there's a bit of a split now, and there's definitely like pockets of like sort of grumbling and negativity, and that's a shame, and it definitely seems to just change the vibe a bit around the ground. And both Dabo and Hamer were talking about how great the fans are and how much we've helped generally, and then Dabo was sort of making the point that really just trying to keep on doing that, and that they feel that they're good enough to push for like top 6 finish, but there's maybe a bit of loss of confidence, a bit of bad luck, bit of sort of a various number of factors, and that really that if we can get behind them and they can get the ball rolling, that we can really have a positive end of the season. So I thought that was an interesting sort of comment to take out of it, and hopefully something that people who've heard it will take away and sort of really think that we can push on. I mean, they consider there's a lot of quality in the squad, and Dabo seems to really rate Josh Edwin Wilson. I mean, they were put the question to them about who would be in their 5-a-side like football team if they were picking a 5-a-side football team out of the squad that we've got, and that they said that they should include themselves, but Dabo said that he wouldn't, that he'd include Josh. And so, I mean, obviously we've only seen little bits of him so far, but they get to see him week out, like for a few weeks now, haven't they, in training? So it sounds like they're really rating him as a prospect. So that could bode well in the coming weeks if we get to see a bit more of him and what he's all about, because obviously the players are seeing something there. So that's a little bit exciting, I think, to see how that's going to pan out in the coming weeks. And I think, I mean, I've been impressed with Doyle so far this season, and from what I can tell, Josh is thought of even higher by Man City than Doyle. So if he's an even better player than we've managed to get from Doyle, I mean, that's going to be a sort of good loan signing, and just give us that bit of further options defensively for the end of the season, won't it? So yeah, that was quite a good bit that came out of it, I think.
I think Wilson Esbrand has to be in the reckoning for Saturday. This is my thinking, because I thought in his cameo appearance at West Brom, I thought he looks pretty good. I thought his touches looked good.
Yeah.
I'd like to see him in a more advanced position. You could even in theory put him as a 10 in place of Allen if he wanted to.
Yeah.
In that sort of left side position. But also I think probably more than likely I'd like to see him as that left wing back position. I have to profess I've not seen a great deal of him playing. I don't think a lot of us fans have.
No.
But I think he's got to be worth a go. I mean, Mark Robinson wouldn't have brought him on loan if he didn't think he was good enough. So
that's the thing most of us haven't seen a lot of him, have we? But the fact that Dabo was sort of making this point about him makes you think, well, they've obviously seen him for a couple of weeks now, and they've obviously seen, Robinson must have seen something to bring him in to start with, and the players are obviously thinking, yeah, this is a great addition. So that's positive, isn't it? And we might not see the full benefit of that for a few weeks until he gets like maybe taking a minute. But yeah, that was quite a positive thing. I thought it was obviously interesting to know what they think. So
Yeah.
about how they're trying to keep Callum O'Hare's spirits up, and also the impact that's had on the squad, because they were saying how shocked they were that O'Hare had got injured, because it's obviously never just carries on, doesn't it? Regardless, he's quite been a tough cookie historically. So they were talking about how shocked they were in the summer that he got his first injury, came back, how positive that was for the squad. The fact that he's had a second injury, they were hoping it was something minor, and it's obviously significant. And so the impact that's had on the squad, and them trying to keep him positive as well, because they were saying that how much, obviously, and we all know this, don't we, really, how much he loves playing football, and so how hard it is for him mentally not being able to go out. And so they just spoke a bit about that as well. And I guess when you look at it, there's been quite a lot for the players to contend with this season, really, hasn't there? With sort of things like O'Hare getting injured, the whole debacle with the pitch and everything. And so hopefully, I really feel like if we can get a couple of wins going, get like the atmosphere going, and just get a bit of confidence going, that we've still got a squad that's good enough to push for a good top half. I mean, like, so we finished, was it 12th or 15th last season? I can't remember now.
12th.
12 to 15th, wasn't it?
Table. 12,
yeah. So I think that there's no reason why. I think that probably the top six is really ambitious, but there's no reason why we couldn't finish something like 8th to 10th. And like I said, Dabo was really given. They were talking about how the players genuinely believe this, and I suppose he almost alluded to the fact that maybe he thinks the fans have lost that belief this season, and that's why it's not quite as positive. And so I think that maybe we have to try and just take that leap of faith again and say, yeah, this is this journey with problems, and we can carry on with that trajectory.
Yeah, I think the World Cup break hasn't helped.
No.
We've only won 2 games, I think, since the World Cup break. West Brom and Huddersfield.
Yeah.
I think, in all honesty, West Brom was probably the last game we played where I thought we played really well.
Yeah.
And we deserved to win. I thought Huddersfield we just did enough to win, but the other games have been pretty disappointing. But if we can win Saturday, I know I've said we don't. I don't think we will, but if we can, and we can get, a point, or get 4 points, let's say, for the next 2 games, I think then the crowd, I think it will raise spirits. I mean, 6 points would be wonderful. Because
we owe Millwall one. We owe Millwall one, don't we? I mean, we
yeah.
Oh, we should have won that. I mean, that's so frustrating how the way that game went at the beginning of the season. And we should have had 3 points down there. So we definitely owe them one up here, and we need to be getting a result, don't we, to pay them back.
I think if we can beat Luton, that gives a massive lift. I think the fans don't give a message to everyone. We can beat these teams. I mean, we've beaten Sheffield United at home, we've beaten Blackburn at home, who were in the playoffs at the time. So we are capable of taking points off, and obviously took points off Middlesbrough as well early in the season. But like that was when they weren't doing as well. But we are a side we are capable of getting results, but it's just, from what I've seen, based on the performances, we've always been very, very slow to start in games, and we need to be on the front foot on Saturday. You heard Ollie's comments about Luton not liking to play high press, and I expect that's the way they're going to try and play against us. They're going to try and press us quite high and try and force mistakes out of us. So
we've got
to be smart with how we play.
Yeah.
Got a question here from your average Coventry fan about is there any idea when Darrow will be back playing?
He didn't say specifically. He just said that his ambition for the rest of this season, because they spoke about targets, and he said that his target was just to get fully fixed. He's obviously had. He spoke about the fact he's had an ongoing problem now, just like with sort of niggling injuries, and I suppose on and off now for a couple of the seasons, hasn't he? So really, he said that his main sort of target that he was setting himself was just to try and get fully fit so that he can get a run of games and, like, I suppose, contribute. But he didn't say how close he was to being back. So no, I don't know. Sorry.
No, I think Dabo hasn't been the same player since he's come back. I mean, obviously, before the injury, he looked a bit unfit for me. He looked like
I think the thing was he wasn't fully fit, was he? He hadn't actually recovered properly from the injury before. So in some ways, it's not a surprise that he's got another injury. I think he was being asked to play. I guess maybe because we were so low on numbers, but I always thought it was. I mean, I always thought it was cover for his position. So I never really knew why we were forcing him to play. And not fully fit. I felt like he could have been given a few more weeks to get that fitness back, and unfortunately now he's got another injury and he's back to square one, isn't he? So it's a bit of a shame there, because I think I felt last season when we had that win away at Fulham, and then we win away at Blues, and we were sort of flying a little bit, and we had an outside chance that we might push for the playoffs, and then it sort of just dwindled away a bit. I felt that really fell away after Dabo got injured at Blues. We never really looked quite as good for the remaining games of that season. So I always feel like he's quite an integral part of the team, but we just haven't really seen that this season, because I'm not sure he's been fully fit for any game this season, and he's unfortunately sort of player that's never at his best. Some players can carry an injury, can't they? That doesn't really affect them. He is a player with effect. If he's not fully fit, you never see the best of that. But I think fully fit, I really rate him, but I just think, unfortunately, when he's not fit, he's a player that he can't carry that as well as the person that hide that. He doesn't now. So that's a shame. So that's to see. But I mean, that was what he said his aim was, to get back to fitness and try and really end the season, I guess.
Yeah, I think Dabo, for me, he's usually quite a free flowing. Like, he runs, he's quite fit, quite athletic in that. But the games that I've seen him play, I could see like he's carrying an injury. Doesn't look quite 100%. But fingers crossed. I think he's out of contract after the season, isn't he? Is that right?
I think so, which is a shame. I mean, I don't know what Robbins will do there, especially if he doesn't manage to get fit to play enough games. I mean, I'd offer him another contract, but then you've got to be careful, because you're thinking, well, is he going to just keep on picking up injuries? And we've got a few players that are a bit injury prone, and we haven't got a massive squad. So do you take a gamble? I mean, and I suppose it's difficult, because Dabo is one of my sort of favourite players. So I suppose I'm looking at a bit emotionally, whereas Robbins can obviously deal with it more analytically, can't he? And he might decide that we can't afford to carry him and sort of let him go. But if it was me, I'd offer him another contract, a couple more years, and I think he's still got something to offer. But we'll have to see how that pans out.
And on to the other guest, Hamer, I think there's a question asked about his discipline, about the fact that obviously he's been making jokes about that. Yeah, what was it you were saying again? I caught a bit of what you said, but tell me what was.
So we got in trouble with Robinson. From what Dabo said, I think he must have got a heavy fine, because Dabo made some joke about basically him taking all the Hamer's money, and they were laughing about that. So it sounds like he got in a lot of trouble and a sort of heavy fine. But he was saying that Robbins had also then given him some like video footage showing all of his bookings, I think, since he's played for us, and helped him to understand, I suppose, about just giving away soft bookings in the first half, like opening yourself up then to the possibility of a red because you've given away a soft early foul, and so I mean I think it's remarkably noticeable that since the Birmingham game when he got sent off, that his discipline since he's come back is like he's like a different player, isn't he? I think it's just entirely. I mean, before you were always worried about whether or not he'd do something a bit rash, and that just seems to have gone. He seems to be able to target his aggression so much better, and he said that these videos helped him to see like what he was basically doing wrong, I suppose, and the right way to target that. So that's been positive, I think. But yeah, they made a joke about him losing a lot of money to a fine.
Yeah. I don't think he's actually picked up a yellow card, has he, since the red card? I don't recall a yellow card. I could be wrong.
Yeah, I think
anyone out there wants to comment, feel free to comment, but I don't think he has.
I don't think he has, because I'm sure they made a comment about that, because I think that they said it was so many games, and he was like, no, it's more games, so he's obviously keeping a record. And I think he said it's been 19 games. I'm sure that, I don't know if anyone can confirm that, but I'm sure he said it was 19 games without even a booking. So I mean that's good going in comparison to what was going on before. I mean, interestingly, what else he was talking about was the fact that this was last season, or the season before, but his first season for us. He had never played that winter break before, because he played in Holland and they have a winter break, and so second half of the season he'd been really struggling to, and so whilst they've spoken about how the World Cup break has disrupted the team and it's not really far very well, I do wonder whether, like for players like Hamer, who was sort of struggling to get used to the English way of playing football straight through, whether that actually would do him good, and we might like see like a really positive end of the season from that perspective, just to play the ball, have that little break, and a sort of better set up to play through to the end of the season now.
My opinion, I think Hamer for me has got to be up there for player of the season. With probably Gyökeres in terms of goals, although Gyökeres probably hasn't had his fair share chances. But I think Hamer for me, since he's came back from his second red, I think it's been really good. His attacking play is good, but also he's improved his defensive play from last season.
Yeah,
I think last season you look, he picked up a lot of yellow cards. I reckon about say 12 to 13, roughly. I could be wrong, but it's quite a few. This season, since the red card, he hasn't picked, as far as I'm aware, he hasn't picked up any cards of any colour. And his defensive play has been a lot better. He tracks back well. He puts a tackle in. He's not rash. I think last season he could be a little bit rash in the tackle, whereas this season he's timed his tackles better, and I think that's credit to him coming back.
You wonder, don't you, towards the end of the season, whether if he was feeling tired because he was struggling with like this whole playing the whole season in one go, whether that had an impact. Because obviously we all know that if you're feeling a bit tired and you're tracking back, it's harder, isn't it, to do a proper tackle if you're sort of feeling a bit knackered and you're just like, oh. So you wonder how much of an impact that had on him at the end of last season when he was struggling to sort of get used to playing. And we talk about how the game, because now you're getting used to the game being quicker, and the fact you're playing a whole season in one go without any break. So you sort of wonder whether that's a bit of an impact as well, just the fact that he was a bit tired and maybe mentally and physically trying to get used to what the play is sitting over there. And so this season, like you said, I think I was really entirely
Yeah, I think your headset's going a little bit. Sorry, Vicky.
Oh, is it? Sorry.
Yeah. Sorry, you're right now. I can hear you now. I can hear, just say something quickly.
Hello.
Yeah, you're fine.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry. It's new as well.
Yeah, I know. Don't worry about it. It's all good. I think, but overall, you're feeling confident for Saturday?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you know me, I can't help it. I go into every game believing until something goes wrong, really. So I can't change that, really. So, and I think especially, I mean, I don't know what I'd be like if we ever got to the Premier League, because I'm sure that it's difficult to be confident that you could turn up at Man City and win, isn't it? But I think in the Championship, like you said earlier, on our day, we can beat anybody. So that's why I always feel confident, because I think that depending on what Coventry team turns up, we really can beat any other team in the league. There's nobody, I think, that is like out of our capabilities if we play to our best ability. So so I'm always going in positive, thinking, I was hoping that we turn up and that we can do a job. And so I'm feeling positive. I think we've had a sort of fairly difficult run of games, with like having to get Burnley and Norwich and West Brom out of the way. So it's nice now to sort of get to, like, I suppose, teams that are more comparable to us in so much as they have. I mean, Luton have only been in the Championship a season or more than us, haven't they? So they're not one of these sort of long-standing teams that have got like recent Premiership money or anything like that. And that is a difference, isn't it, between us and some of the teams? Whereas Luton are more comparable. So I see. I'm maintaining that we're going to get a result on Saturday.
Yeah, well, let's hope so. Let's hope once again I'll be eating humble pie, and I'll be more than happy to do that. So, and I also want to end the show on a really positive note from Glenn. Quotes from the meeting tonight. Mark Robins has promised to one day manage Coventry City in the Premier League, and he's determined that he's going nowhere until it's done. So I think that's really good. That's music to everyone's ears, isn't it?
It's interesting, actually. So I was going to say, it's interesting actually with Robbins and what Ollie was saying earlier about Nathan Jones coming back, because I'm sure that there's a lot of Coventry fans, I know I was one included, that when Mark Robbins was first going to come back after he'd ditched us for Huddersfield, I wasn't very keen, like thinking he's done the dirty on us once. But he has, similar to what Ollie was saying about Nathan Jones, Robbins has more than redeemed himself. I mean, what he's given us in the last 5 years, and if he can carry on that journey, we've got some exciting times ahead, haven't we?
Yeah, I think Robbins actually loves the club. I think
Yeah.
he's certainly grown an affinity for the club. He's had opportunity. I'm sure he's had opportunities to move elsewhere. I think he was linked when we were in League One with Sunderland a while back now, and he signed a contract.
Yeah.
Whenever managers get sacked from other clubs, there's always speculation on social media about is Robbins going to go and all that. But I've never been convinced. I think Robbins loves the club, and
Yeah.
I think he knows he's onto something good with us.
Definitely.
And I really hope one day he'll get us up to the Premier League because, in
I
my
think he
opinion,
deserves it. Him and AD deserve that, don't they? That success, they deserve it.
I want that to happen.
Yeah.
We all want that to happen because, we've been outside the Premier League for 21, it's been 20 to 22 years after this season, and that's too long for a club of our size. We should, I think it's understandable that the sits with CC, and there's a lot that I still feels a long road ahead to get to the promised land of the Premier League. I think all I can say is that Doug King has made a good start in keeping Gyökeres in the short term. The summer's very, very important because there's a lot of players out of contract. I think there's going to be a lot of work needs to be done this summer in terms of recruitment, who goes, who comes in. So it's a big summer for the likes of Dean Austin, who's obviously in charge of the transfers, and that Mark Robbins, ADV Vash. We've got to get the right players in. So, but we should be aiming for Premier League. Why not? We've been a Premier League club. We should not be happy being a Championship club. We should be looking further afield from that. I think this season for me is a write-off in terms of top 6. I think if we can get to top 10, that represents a really good season. That gives us something to work on. But then I think the hard work starts in the summer. So yeah, I think we can. Let's just see what happens. But it's great that Robbins wants to stay with us. I think that's really good to hear. And
Definitely.
that in my opinion, he's the most important person at the football club because everything that's good about our club is because of Mark Robbins. Not just him, but ADV Vash as well. We can keep and Dennis Lawrence and that. So if we can keep those guys that continuity going, that's brilliant. But yeah, let's just see what happens. Fingers crossed that we get a win. So yeah. So just going to say thanks, Vicky, for coming on tonight. It's been a great show. Just a reminder of a few events coming on at the Tavern. Saturday, 4th of March, between 1 p.m. 6 p.m. It's a two-tone brewery brunch, which is a bottomless drinks and some authentic Jamaican food. That's Saturday, 4th of March at I think it's at the Tavern. Second event is Valentine's Meal. If you want to take you and your loved one to the Tavern, please do so. They're doing a great offer of free course meal with a free bottle of Prosecco, £45. I think that sounds a perfect deal. I might ask my wife to come, but she'll probably say no.
You're going to match, Mark. We've got a match, unfortunately, haven't we, on the same day?
Of course, yeah. I could not multitask, couldn't I? Yeah. Well, if you didn't want to go to the football, you can always got that. So let's fall back on. And then the last event is a rock out with the band VB at Dylan's Brewery on Friday, the 31st of March at 5 p.m. So they're all events at the Tavern, Dylan's Brewery to look forward to. So come along if you fancy it. Thanks everyone for listening tonight. Thanks for all your comments. Thanks Vicky for coming on. Fingers crossed we're going to win on Saturday. We owe Luton one. I'm going to finish off and say that we need to beat them because I'm sick and tired of losing to them and not winning against them. So let's hope that changes. Next show is Sunday. Ken Stewart will be presenting that show. I'm having a day off, so look forward to hopefully you'll tune in for that.
You're just hiding for when we win. You're just hiding so that when we win, I can't gloat to you.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, I'm already chickening out already. So yeah. So and we've got a Mill guest coming on. So it's preview Mill as well. So that'll be a fun show. Thanks everyone for listening again, and we'll speak to you soon. Good night.